brilliant quarter-finals, lads. Let's pick our way through them, and we'll start with Leinster against Saracens, a repeat of last year's final. This game is loaded with plot and subplot, Brian.
Yeah, it's a mouth-watering prospect in the first quarter-final. As you say, last year's finalists, they met one another in the quarter-final the previous year. So it's one each to both sides over the course of the last two meetings, and all to play for. Saracens would have been one of the few teams that Leinster would have wanted to avoid. But alas, they're going to have to beat them. It is better off getting them in a quarter-final rather than a semi-final final. We know the history and their ability to eke out results in those games. So a big performance and crowd in the Aviva Stadium, and maybe that'll go towards some way to silencing and keeping that Saracens team quiet.
In one of the last top 14 rounds before the European break, Racing had Clermont at their wonderful stadium in Paris, and Racing won that day. It was interesting looking at all of their social media. They really celebrate that one. They love beating Clermont. Different prospect going to Clermont in a quarter-final, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And look, in Europe, I think they've won 75 of 82 matches at their home ground, which is just extraordinary. So, they had the T-shirts printed. Is it our year this year in the European Cup? Well, it's for so many years it hasn't been their year. They fall at the final hurdle or the one before the final hurdle. But what you can guarantee is that they're going to take some beating in their own stadium. And who knows, if they can win that, maybe it will be their year.
The T-shirts are brilliant, actually, because it has all the years they failed crossed out on it. So you're going to look them up online. There's just a feeling about Toulouse this year. This competition started 25 years ago. Emile Ntamack was the Toulouse captain when they won. His son is a star of the team this time out. If you're a romantic, and I know you are, you feel it might be their year as well.
Again, it's part of it, and I'm sure it's a bit of motivation. But Leinster's the first team to try and win 5 European crowns. Toulouse are the other one sitting on 4, and I'm sure it's something after winning the Bouclier last year. Feels as though this is the obvious next stepping stone to that European, being touted as a European superpower again. They've been quiet in the doldrums for a couple of years, even spending 1 or 2 seasons out of the top flight, which is unheard of. So, with the fact that the final is in Marseille, they would be really, really working hard, quarter-final and hopefully semi-final, to get there, and a big home support to try and win that 5th title.
Saints director of rugby Chris Boyd said this is a young team that is maturing, so maybe best they get a team they know an awful lot about, like the Exeter Chiefs.
Yeah, I think Northampton have done brilliantly to get to the knockout stages, having been beaten twice by Leinster. But Exeter, really, with that first performance away at La Rochelle, this is a tournament that they've targeted. You can't really call yourself a super club or a big club until you've won Europe, and Exeter are really well placed.
Lawrence, thank you so much for guiding us through all that. It did get complicated at the end, so I'm glad you brought your calculators with you. Well, on a weekend when it started with talk of what was happening off the field, it was great. We finished talking about what's happening on the field, and some brilliant quarterfinals coming your way live here on BT Sport. Thank you so much for joining us for all the pool stages. Until we see you again, bye-bye.